Chosen one, listen now. Heaven has been holding its breath for 2 hours, waiting for you to reach this very moment. This is not coincidence, it is divine orchestration. The clock of eternity has paused, and the Spirit of God whispers, "Now." Everything around you slows, and time itself bends under the weight of heaven's intent. You are the reason heaven waited. For the last 2 hours, angels have circled the throne, carrying your name in their songs. The silence you felt was not abandonment, it was the sound of divine preparation. God has been setting the stage, arranging what your eyes could not see, so that this exact moment could find you. You sense it inside, a pull, a trembling, a holy pressure. It's not anxiety, it's divine activation. Your spirit recognizes that heaven is speaking, that this moment carries eternal weight. The world may scroll past, but your soul knows this is not just another word. This is a call. The prophet Isaiah declared in chapter 60, verse 22, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." This is that time. Heaven's timing is perfect. You thought God was late, but he was waiting for your readiness. You thought the silence meant he forgot, but he was forming you in the hidden place. He was shaping your endurance, refining your faith, strengthening your heart so that when the appointed hour arrived, you could carry the weight of what's coming. Chosen one, you are standing at the threshold of divine revelation. Every delay was divine design. Every unanswered prayer was God saying, "Not yet, because I am building something greater." And now, the yet has arrived. The clock of heaven has struck. The waiting has ended. Can you feel that? The shift. Heaven's frequency is touching your life right now. The doors that refused to open before are trembling on their hinges. What was locked in the unseen realm is beginning to move. You are standing between what was and what will be. And this message is the bridge. You have cried, "God, when will you move?" And heaven answers, "Now." The 2-hour wait was not punishment, it was alignment. God waited until the distractions fell away, until your spirit quieted enough to hear him clearly. He waited because he loves you too deeply to release something prematurely. The world teaches impatience, but heaven teaches precision. You were not late, you were being positioned. Every storm, every tear, every lonely hour, it all trained you to discern the voice that now speaks within you. The same power that commands galaxies is now calling you by name. This is your awakening moment. Heaven is not offering suggestions. Heaven is issuing an assignment. You have been chosen to carry light where others see only darkness, to speak when others stay silent, to rise when others retreat. That's why the enemy fought you so hard, because he knew what would happen once you reached this hour. Now listen carefully. When heaven moves, you must respond. Faith requires a step. You cannot remain silent when God speaks. The same obedience that parted the Red Sea, that shook prison doors for Paul and Silas, is the same obedience heaven calls for now from you. Take this as your sign. God has not forgotten you. The 2 hours of divine waiting were proof that heaven sees your struggle, honors your endurance, and now invites you into a new season. What was delayed will accelerate. What was hidden will be revealed. What was weak will become strong. You are not just surviving, you are being summoned. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis now hovers over your destiny. Everything around you shifts because heaven has spoken. God waited until the moment was right, and that moment is now. If this word stirs your spirit, do not let it pass you by. Respond to heaven's call. Like this message, share it so others may awaken too, and subscribe to remain under the flow of divine revelation that's being released. Heaven does not repeat what it has already declared. It moves forward. Stay aligned. Stay alert. Stay ready. Now, as a prophetic act of agreement with heaven's timing, comment your number below, 777, as a sign that you have heard and accepted this divine message. Let that number be your covenant that you will no longer rush God's process, but walk in His perfect timing. The hour has come. The heavens waited. The King has spoken. Move forward. Chosen one, the time is right, and the Lord will make it happen. Heaven watches as you step forward, carrying the weight of destiny with renewed strength. The waiting is over. Divine movement has begun within and around you now. Every heartbeat echoes heaven's yes. You are walking in alignment, surrounded by unseen angels, guided by purpose, and marked by time itself, God's timing, finally fulfilled. You feel it lingering in the air, the weight of waiting. It presses against your chest like invisible gravity, reminding you that something sacred has been building inside you. Heaven's silence was never empty. It was charged with purpose. Every minute that passed, every unanswered question, every delay, none of it was wasted. God was watching, measuring, aligning. You once thought waiting meant being forgotten, but now you begin to understand it means being prepared. The kingdom operates in patterns that your human eyes rarely see. While you cried in frustration, heaven was organizing an answer too heavy for you to carry before. You were not denied. You were delayed for divine refinement. There are moments in your life when the stillness feels unbearable. You pray, and the sky seems to echo your words back in silence. You ask, God, are you still there? And the heavens seem closed. Yet in that silence, something unseen was growing stronger, your faith. Waiting taught you to trust without evidence, to believe without signs, to hold on without comfort. That is where true strength is born. The weight of waiting refines the chosen. It burns away the illusion that you control the timeline. It humbles you, reminding you that destiny is not built on your schedule, but on divine rhythm. You are not just waiting on God. God is shaping you while you wait. There were days when you wanted to give up, to surrender your hope and silence your prayers. You watched others move forward, and you wondered if God had skipped your turn. But the truth is, the longer the wait, the greater the reveal. You were not forgotten. You were being protected from premature exposure. The promise you carry is too precious to be revealed before its season. Sometimes, heaven waits until every false foundation collapses. The relationships you lost, the opportunities that disappeared, the doors that never opened, they were not punishment, they were divine protection. God knew what would harm you if you walked into it too soon, so He withheld it, not to hurt you, but to preserve you. Look back for a moment. Every delay has revealed something about you. The patience you developed, the endurance you discovered, the quiet strength that now lives beneath your ribs. You wouldn't be who you are if everything had come easily. Waiting taught you to hear the whisper beneath the thunder, to recognize God even when He seemed hidden. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29. Verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Those words are not just comfort, they are confirmation. God's plan is not reactive, it's written. Every delay was part of that divine blueprint. You are walking through a story that heaven finished before you were born. The waiting is not a pause, it's a passage. Chosen one. This is the sacred tension between promise and manifestation. It's the quiet middle ground where faith is forged. Heaven calls it the proving ground, the place where you learn to believe, not because you see, but because you know. Every hour you waited was heaven's investment in your spiritual maturity. You were learning how to carry glory without pride, authority without arrogance, anointing without corruption. And now, something within you shifts. You can feel that the waiting is nearing its end. The atmosphere feels different, charged with unseen movement. God is not far, He is closer than your next breath. The silence that once felt like absence now feels like anticipation. You realize heaven has been holding something heavy, and it's about to be released. Do not despise the waiting, it was your preparation. The fire did not destroy you, it purified you. The silence did not reject you, it refined your hearing. And the delay did not kill the promise, it deepened its roots. You are emerging from a holy cocoon, transformed by unseen hands. The weight that once felt unbearable has become the foundation for your authority. You have learned to wait without wavering, to stand without explanation, to believe even when nothing moves. That is the posture of the chosen. That is how warriors of light are made. So as you breathe in this sacred moment, understand this truth. God's waiting room is not punishment, it's promotion in disguise. The same God who delayed your blessing was building your capacity to hold it. Heaven's waiting is never wasted time, it is sacred time. And now, as the divine clock ticks closer to fulfillment, your spirit knows something is shifting. Heaven has waited long enough. The promise approaches. You were never behind. You were being prepared for the weight of what is coming next. You stand on the edge of divine fulfillment, no longer defined by delay, but strengthened by it. What once felt like waiting now feels like becoming. Heaven moves, and you are ready to walk in rhythm with it. You look back and realize that every pause, every unanswered prayer, every season of silence was never random, it was strategic. Heaven has been weaving purpose through every delay. What you called stuck was God saying, "Stay until you're strong enough to move." Every day that felt like waiting was heaven building your capacity for the next command. The pain that confused you was not punishment, it was instruction. Every disappointment was heaven's redirection. The detours, the dead ends, the moments you cried, "Why not?" Now they were all divine pauses meant to shape your discernment. God didn't say no, He said, "Not yet." And that difference changes everything. You've been in a process that others can't understand. To them, it looked like delay. To God, it was development. There are anointings that only come from stillness, lessons that only come from silence. You are learning to walk by faith, not by visible signs. Waiting has become your secret training ground, your unseen graduation. It was proclaimed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Those words are your anchor. All things includes the pain, the confusion, the waiting, and the moments you felt forgotten. God is not improvising, He is orchestrating. Even the tears you thought were wasted have watered the ground for your next harvest. You did not lose time, you invested it into trust. Chosen one, do you see the shift heaven has been working in layers, preparing you from the inside out? The world sees delay as weakness, but in the kingdom, waiting is weaponry. Your patience is spiritual armor. Your endurance is a declaration of war against doubt. You are being trained to recognize the hand of God in small movements. The door that creaked open slightly, the whisper that came in the night, the dream that wouldn't leave your mind. All of these were signs that heaven was nearer than you thought. God never stopped moving, He simply moved in silence. The enemy tried to convince you that nothing was happening, but what he didn't know was that your stillness was strategic. You weren't frozen, you were being fortified. The moment you felt weakest was the moment heaven was rewriting your strength. You were being built into someone unshakable, someone who can carry glory without breaking under its weight. Now, the Spirit begins to stir again. Something inside you starts to awaken. The same silence that once made you restless now becomes your peace. You've grown comfortable in waiting because you've learned to trust the one who writes time. Heaven calls this maturity faith without visible proof. There's a reason you feel the stirring tonight. It's because heaven is whispering you're almost there. The same God who asked you to wait is now saying, prepare to move. The clock of heaven has advanced, and the next chapter approaches. You don't need to chase it, it's coming to meet you. Even now, your spirit begins to feel alignment. The heaviness of waiting starts to lift, replaced by a quiet boldness. You can sense that something in the atmosphere is responding to your obedience. The tests that once broke you have become the tools that define you. What was your trial will become your testimony. When God waits, He multiplies. Every year that felt silent becomes a double portion. Every tear becomes a seed. Every hour that seemed wasted becomes the hour heaven redeems. You are about to step into acceleration that no human could produce. It comes only through divine timing. And right now, as you stand between the last moment of waiting and the first step of movement, heaven calls for acknowledgement, not for show, not for others, but as a prophetic act of agreement with what God is doing inside you. Comment below, it's my time. Write those words and let them seal your faith. When you declare, it's my time, you are not boasting, you are testifying. You are announcing to the heavens and to your own soul that the waiting season has done its work and that you are stepping into alignment with God's appointed hour. You are not rushing His will, you are recognizing His signal. The same heaven that once whispered, wait, is now saying, go. And your spirit answers back with confidence, it's my time. When you type, it's my time, heaven recognizes your readiness. Those 3 words carry power. They tell the universe that delay has ended and destiny has begun to unfold right where you stand. It's my time is not about pride, it's about purpose. It means you have accepted the process, embraced the pain, and chosen to walk boldly into everything God has been preparing for you. So declare, it's my time, with faith. Let it echo beyond screens and moments. Let it mark your transition from waiting to walking, from silence to sound, from promise delayed to promise revealed. You are beginning to see how every second of silence carried meaning. What once felt like emptiness now feels like strategy. God was not ignoring you, He was instructing creation to prepare for your arrival. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters before light existed has been hovering over your life, ensuring that when your time came, everything would align perfectly. In the waiting, heaven was not idle. Every angel assigned to your destiny has been moving pieces you cannot see. People you have never met are being positioned. Resources are being stored. Paths are being cleared. What looks still from your side of the mountain is busy from heaven's view. The unseen realm never sleeps when it comes to the chosen. You wondered why some doors closed just when you thought they were finally opening. You prayed, and suddenly everything you were building seemed to fall apart. But if you look deeper, you'll see that God was protecting you from foundations that could not carry what you're called to hold. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Some are distractions dressed in gold. The Lord removes them not to withhold joy, but to secure purpose. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 55, verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Those words define the mystery of your journey. You have been trying to interpret a divine blueprint using human logic. Every time you thought, this must be the moment, heaven whispered, not yet. Every time you feared that the silence meant failure, heaven smiled, knowing that the delay was preservation. God does not think like you, because his thoughts operate in eternal dimensions. You see only one piece at a time. He sees the whole masterpiece. What you call detours, heaven calls direction. What you call waiting, heaven calls weaving. God has been stitching every thread of your experience into a tapestry of purpose that will soon reveal its pattern. Sometimes, purpose hides in discomfort. The frustration that drove you to your knees was God's way of pulling you closer. You would not have prayed that deeply if comfort had stayed. You would not have listened that carefully if everything had gone your way. The breaking was the birthplace of intimacy. You have to understand, heaven never wastes pain. The tears you shed at night are not ignored, they are translated into intercession. Every sigh becomes a sentence in heaven's language, and every ache becomes an altar. You were never silent, you were being heard in a frequency too deep for words. Chosen one. When you walked through those long, dry nights, wondering if God had left, you were actually walking through holy training grounds. The silence built endurance. The delay built depth. The emptiness built awareness. You have learned what many never do, that God's presence is not always loud, but it is always near. Look at your own growth. The same struggles that once terrified you now only make you pray. The same storms that once shook your faith now strengthen it. That's how heaven builds leaders, by teaching them to trust in invisible timelines. You are becoming someone whose peace no longer depends on circumstances, but on conviction. Waiting has taught you reverence. It has taught you to stop demanding and start discerning. You've learned that God's timing is not a punishment, it's a safeguard. What if everything you wanted had arrived when your heart was still unhealed? What if every blessing you begged for had come before your character was ready? The delay wasn't rejection, it was love, disguised as distance. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted carefully. The potter does not rush the clay. The sculptor does not hurry the carving. God knows exactly when to apply pressure and when to release it. Every season has been shaping your capacity to carry what is next. The stillness you once hated has become sacred. You've discovered that God speaks through timing as much as through words. Every pause in your story carries his handwriting. Every silence conceals a strategy. You are not stuck in waiting, you are standing in design. So breathe. The same God who wrote the beginning of your story is still writing the middle. You are living inside a divine rhythm that will not fail. Nothing you've lost was wasted. Nothing delayed will be denied. Every second that felt like silence has been accumulating purpose, and heaven is almost ready to unveil it. Soon, you will understand why God waited 2 hours, 2 months, or 2 years to move. You will look back and say, "He was right to wait." Because when the revelation arrives, it will carry power, precision, and peace all at once. You will not just step into your promise, you will recognize that you were never outside it. You were simply being prepared to walk in it with strength. The atmosphere begins to shift. Something in the unseen realm has turned its gaze toward you. The stillness that wrapped around your spirit begins to loosen, and the weight of waiting transforms into the thrill of becoming. The hour that heaven whispered about from the beginning is upon you. The waiting season did its work, and now the sound of activation echoes quietly in your heart. You can feel the pulse of purpose. It beats in rhythm with heaven's heartbeat. Every moment of silence, every tear that fell unnoticed by men was noticed by angels. You were not forgotten in the waiting, you were being woven into destiny. What you thought was delay was the sound of heaven counting down. The number reached 0, and suddenly, you are standing at the doorway of fulfillment. This is the hour of activation. The divine timeline has shifted from waiting to walking. The voice that once said, "Be still," now says, "Step forward." The spirit that comforted you in stillness now calls you to movement. It is not the push of desperation, it is the gentle invitation of purpose. Heaven is ready, and so are you. The earth beneath your feet seems to hum with quiet anticipation. Something inside you knows this is not a random season. It's a divine appointment. The doors that refuse to open will not resist much longer. Because they were never locked, they were waiting for your maturity. The Word of God reveals in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." That is what this moment means. The light you've been guarding through storms is now ready to shine. It's time to rise, not to boast, but to reflect. The glory was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to spill over, to illuminate those still lost in shadows. You've been prepared to carry light into places that forgot what light felt like. But light does not shout, it simply shines. It doesn't demand attention, it creates it. That's what this transition is about, becoming radiant without needing recognition. You are not here to impress, you are here to inspire. Heaven has not called you to strive, but to shine. You've reached a point where heaven's movement no longer feels external, it's internal. You don't need a trumpet sound to know something sacred has begun. You sense it deep inside, where words don't reach. The same spirit that waited with you now walks with you. The divine pause becomes divine progress. And as you read this, something awakens the realization that you are part of a divine pattern that stretches across eternity. You are not simply one voice among billions. You are a living echo of heaven's design, carrying fragments of eternity in your daily steps. Now, the invitation comes, not as a command, but as a whisper when heaven moves your heart. Respond beautifully. Let your agreement be gentle, yet powerful. just as light cannot hide its glow. Let your soul not hide its gratitude. If this word touches your spirit, respond not out of habit, but as a sacred gesture of acknowledgement. When you imagine placing a small flame upon the altar of light, saying silently, "Yes, Lord, I see." When you share, see yourself releasing a lantern into the night sky so its glow may guide another wanderer home. When you subscribe, envision stepping deeper into a circle of light, an eternal gathering of awakened souls moving together toward purpose. These are not digital acts, they are symbolic echoes of your agreement with heaven. Each one is a whisper of Amen written in light. You are not supporting a page, you are sustaining a fire. So breathe. Chosen one, you have arrived at the edge of something divine. The waiting season bows to the awakening season. The silence gives birth to sound. The stillness yields to purpose. And the light within you, once hidden, finally rises. Gentle but unstoppable. This is your activation hour. The heavens have leaned close to watch, and the earth has quieted to listen. The same voice that whispered, "Wait now," says, "Shine." And when you do, when you quietly say yes to the movement of heaven, the universe adjusts its rhythm to yours. You don't need to announce it. You only need to become it. And as you do, others will see your light and know that waiting is never wasted when heaven writes the story. Your light does not compete, it completes. Every flicker of obedience becomes a star in heaven's design, guiding others toward hope. What you carry is not small, it is sacred, and the world has been waiting to feel its warmth through you. So rise gently, radiant soul. Let your quiet courage speak louder than noise. The night will recognize your glow, and heaven will recognize your surrender. You are not just walking in light, you are becoming it. Step by step, moment by holy moment, the wind of heaven stirs again. You can feel it, the quiet rustling within your spirit. Like the pages of an unseen book turning toward the next chapter, something shifts. Something unseen, yet undeniable. It is as if the heavens themselves are leaning closer, ready to confirm what has been whispered in your soul for so long. You were chosen for this exact moment. Everything you have walked through, every silent hour, every unanswered prayer was not in vain. They were seeds buried, not forgotten. What looked like endings were actually beginnings in disguise. The soil of struggle has been heavy, but now you begin to see the first green shoot of purpose rising from it. Heaven has been watering your faith even when you didn't feel the rain. The time has come for prophetic confirmation. You are stepping into divine evidence. The things you once only believed for are about to manifest in tangible form. There is movement in the spiritual realm, whispers turning into witnesses, promises turning into presence. This is not coincidence, this is confirmation. The word of God was spoken through the Apostle Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians. Chapter 1, verse 20. For no matter how many promises God has made, they are yes in Christ. That word is your seal tonight. Heaven has placed a divine yes over your life. Even in the areas where the world said no. You may have faced rejection, closed doors, betrayal, but none of those carry the final word, because the final word belongs to God. And His word is yes. You are standing in a moment where heaven testifies of you. The very same God who waited with you now sends confirmation in layers. You will see it in conversations, in timing, in signs that feel too precise to be coincidence. The Spirit has a way of making himself known, not with chaos, but with clarity. There will be people who suddenly remember you, opportunities that return when you've already given up on them. Paths that once looked blocked will part with ease. Heaven's fingerprints will be everywhere, reminding you that what is for you has always been marked for you. And when it happens, it will not feel rushed or forced. It will feel right, because divine timing always carries peace. You won't have to chase it. It will recognize you, the same way a seed recognizes the season to sprout. Your purpose recognizes the hour to rise. You've waited long enough to wonder if you heard God wrong. You didn't. The delay was not to test your hearing, it was to strengthen your believing. Faith without sight was heaven's lesson. Now, the lesson ends, and the manifestation begins. Chosen one, pay attention to the small confirmations. The way the right word appears when your heart feels weary. The way peace fills you right when fear tries to return. The gentle awareness that something beyond logic is orchestrating your days. These are not random, they are heaven's handwriting. You are not crazy for sensing shifts that others can't see. You are not overthinking, you are discerning. The reason you feel spiritual tension is because your life is aligning with divine timing. Heaven's yes often begins with subtle signs before it becomes visible victory. When you start to notice those confirmations, do not take them lightly. Each one is a divine nod, saying, "Keep going. I'm with you." That is the language of God, quiet but unmistakable. He is reminding you that you were never left alone in the waiting. You were being surrounded by unseen witnesses. And now, heaven extends one more invitation, not out of pressure, but as a symbolic act of faith, a way for your heart to respond to what your spirit already knows. Comment your prophetic number 444. When you write 444, you are not typing digits, you are echoing the language of alignment. The number represents divine order, foundation, and angelic confirmation. It means that heaven's structure is being established around you. You are saying, "Lord, I recognize the signs, and I agree with your timing." That number becomes your declaration of readiness. It is not a superstition, it is a signpost. It tells the spiritual realm that you have heard heaven's yes, and you are standing firm within it. The moment you declare it, things in the unseen begin to move, aligning themselves with what heaven has already decreed. You have waited, you have endured, and now you will witness what waiting was building all along: proof, divine evidence that your prayers were never lost in the air but collected and returned multiplied. Heaven has heard, answered, and confirmed. The silence that once felt unbearable now makes sense. It was the sound of heaven writing your testimony. The stillness was sacred. The yes you've been waiting for has already been spoken. And tonight, your spirit simply catches up to it. Comment 444 as your covenant of faith, your signature in heaven's ledger. Let it be your silent way of saying, "I see the signs. I trust the timing. I accept the promise." Because this is not just another moment. This is confirmation written in light, heaven's whisper saying, "You are in alignment." The crushing season, the wait, the breaking, the hidden tears has not been wasted. What you walked through was not random pain, it was sacred formation. Heaven does not crown the untested, and the anointing you now carry was forged in pressure few would understand. Every heartbreak, every collapse, every sleepless night was not punishment, it was preparation for authority. You see, God's method of molding is rarely gentle. Oil only flows after the olive is crushed. Gold only shines after the fire. You were being refined, not rejected. The heaviness you felt was heaven's hands shaping you, pressing purpose into your spirit through the fractures of your heart. What looked like breaking was actually becoming. There were moments when you said, "God, I can't take another hit." Yet somehow, you did. And that strength that rose from the ashes was not your own, it was divine endurance. You didn't realize that while you were surviving, heaven was applauding. The unseen realm recognized your resilience, even when you couldn't see your own reflection through the tears. The prophet David wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Those words have been your secret shelter. Every time the world misunderstood you, heaven leaned closer. Every time you cried alone, angels gathered the sound as worship. What felt like isolation was actually consecration. God was pulling you away, not to punish you, but to protect the oil that was forming within you. The crushing and the crowning are inseparable. One precedes the other as sunrise follows night. You could not skip the pain, because the pain unlocked the purity. Only the broken can truly carry compassion. Only the tested can carry true power. God had to allow certain pressures to strip you of everything superficial, leaving only what is eternal. Think of how a diamond is formed beneath the earth, in silence, under unimaginable weight. There's no applause in that process, only darkness and time. Yet when the pressure lifts, the light reveals what was hidden. That's your story. Heaven has been crafting brilliance out of your buried seasons. You are not defined by the crushing, you are distinguished by it. The strength you carry now was not learned through comfort. It was born through surrender. Every time you chose faith over frustration, trust over bitterness, worship over despair, you became more like the one who called you. You carry a quiet authority now, a calm that can only be found on the other side of breaking. You no longer react from fear, you respond from wisdom. That's how heaven marks maturity, not by how loud you speak, but by how deeply you love after being wounded. Every scar on your soul tells heaven's story, survival, redemption, and rebirth. You are walking evidence that pain can serve purpose. You've learned that brokenness is not the end of blessing, it's the birthplace of it. Even now, heaven watches as you stand, no longer crushed but crowned. You may not feel like royalty, but in the unseen realm, your name has been written among those who endured. The crown is not made of gold, it's made of endurance, humility, and faith. You once prayed for breakthrough, now you've become one. Every time you speak peace, darkness retreats. Every time you forgive, you disarm hell. Every time you keep walking when your strength fails, heaven records it as victory. You didn't just survive the crushing, you mastered it. God never wastes a wound. The pain you thought would destroy you has become the doorway through which glory enters. Others may never see the depth of what you endured, but they will feel the depth of what you carry. Your presence will shift rooms, not because of words, but because of weight, the weight of glory forged in suffering. There is a sacred beauty to those who have been broken and rebuilt. They move differently. They speak with grace instead of anger. They no longer compete, because they know that pain has already proven them. They carry the fragrance of surrender, the aroma of someone who has walked through fire and come out refined. Not bitter. Do not despise the crushing. It crowned you. The season that once felt like loss has become the foundation of wisdom. The tears that fell into the dirt have watered the seeds of your new authority. You are stepping into a realm where pain turns into purpose, and weakness becomes weaponry. You will look back one day and thank God for every moment that felt unbearable, because you'll realize it was those moments that birthed your true strength. The crushing was never to destroy you. It was to make sure that when the crown came, you could carry it with grace. You have walked through the valley, and now you stand on holy ground. The oil that drips from your spirit carries healing for others. You are living proof that even in breaking, heaven is building. The crown has been waiting, and now the one who was crushed stands crowned, not in pride, but in peace. The darkness recognizes you now. The moment you began to rise from the ashes, the atmosphere around you shifted. It's not your imagination, your light has grown louder, and the shadows have noticed. The spiritual realm knows your name. It remembers the fire that tried to consume you and failed. It remembers the nights you prayed when no one saw, and the strength that came from your surrender. You are not fighting for attention. You are disrupting spiritual patterns. Darkness fears those who have survived crushing because they no longer respond to fear, they respond to faith. You've crossed a threshold where pain no longer controls you, and that makes you dangerous to anything that thrives in confusion or despair. Heaven's mark upon you is visible in the unseen. You may not see it in the mirror, but in the spirit. It glows like fire. The enemy recognizes it too. That's why the resistance has increased, not because you're weak, but because you've become a threat. The weight of your obedience carries authority that cannot be silenced. The prophet Isaiah wrote in chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That command is not a suggestion, it's a declaration. It is heaven's announcement that your dormancy has ended. The light within you is not ornamental, it's operational. It is meant to move through darkness, not hide from it. Every room you walk into feels different because the presence you carry disturbs what is unholy and awakens what is asleep. This is the reality of the chosen light, does not blend. It breaks. Wherever you go, you expose, you reveal, you shift atmospheres. You've noticed it, how certain people grow uneasy when you speak truth, how spiritual heaviness lifts when you enter a space. It's not pride, it's presence. You were not built for comfort, you were built for collision, the kind that brings transformation. There is a cost to that kind of calling. The same light that comforts the faithful confronts the false. You will find yourself misunderstood, even by those who once walked beside you. Not everyone can handle the brightness that now burns from your spirit. The oil on your life will draw both honor and opposition. But remember, both are confirmation that you are carrying something real. Your very existence now becomes intercession. You don't always have to speak. Your presence alone becomes prayer. Heaven moves through you like a current, silent but unstoppable. Every act of love, every moment of patience, every time you choose peace over argument, light over bitterness, heaven expands its reach through you. Do not fear the growing intensity of your battles. The greater the resistance, the greater the revelation of your authority. The darkness would not react if you were not effective. What you are feeling now is not random warfare, it is recognition. The enemy attacks what he cannot control and fears what he cannot corrupt. You are being called to walk with the awareness of your power, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in divine identity. You carry something ancient and holy, a fire that has outlived centuries of opposition. That fire is not yours to hide, it is heaven's to display. When you understand that, fear loses its language. You no longer tremble at the roar of the enemy, because you recognize the greater roar within you. Every attack only reveals how necessary your presence is. You were not meant to retreat, you were meant to advance. One prayer, one step, one act of obedience at a time. And yet, even as light confronts darkness, your heart remains tender. You've learned that true warriors carry compassion. You don't fight to destroy, you fight to deliver. You don't expose to shame, you expose to heal. That is the signature of heaven's soldiers' power wrapped in mercy. So, when darkness recognizes you, do not shrink back. Remember who sent you. The same God who anointed you for battle has already secured the victory. You are not fighting for survival, you are walking in revelation. The enemy doesn't fear your perfection, he fears your persistence. Every time you refuse to quit, you win. You are light in motion, fire with purpose, truth with a heartbeat. The crushing gave you oil, the oil gave you glow, the glow drew the fight. And still, you rise. Still, you shine. Still, you stand. Because that's what chosen ones do. They walk through shadows carrying the sun. You were never meant to hide your fire. The same God who lit it within you intends for it to illuminate valleys others are still walking through. Every step you take leaves a trail of warmth for souls searching for hope in their own darkness. Keep walking. Radiant one, the night may surround you, but it cannot consume you. Your endurance itself becomes a sermon. Your light a living prophecy. Wherever you go, heaven follows, and the shadows retreat before the courage of one who finally remembers who they are. There comes a moment when silence must break. When the voice that's been forming in the wilderness finally finds its sound, you have reached that moment now. Heaven has been preparing your tongue, your tone, and your truth for this very hour. For so long, you have been the one listening, absorbing wisdom, healing in quiet, watching, discerning, but now, heaven begins to echo through you. Your life itself becomes a message, and your words become the wind that carries divine reminders into forgotten hearts. You are not merely called to survive, you are called to speak. The prophet Jeremiah once resisted his call, trembling at the weight of divine speech. Yet the Spirit spoke through him in chapter 20, verse 9. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. That same fire burns within you. You've tried to stay silent, to keep the peace, to avoid the misunderstanding, to escape the cost of truth, but the fire will not stay still. It was never meant to. Heaven's words demand release, and you are the vessel through which they travel. Your voice carries authority not because it is loud, but because it is pure. You speak not to impress, but to awaken. Each sentence you whisper with sincerity disrupts something in the unseen, shaking lies that have kept others bound. That is why your words feel heavy, because they are wrapped in heaven's weight. You have walked through the wilderness, and now you return with a voice shaped by endurance. The same silence that once felt suffocating has now taught you to speak with power. The pain gave your words depth. The waiting gave them resonance. You are no longer guessing, you are declaring. There will be moments when you feel resistance as you speak. The world may roll its eyes. The enemy may whisper. No one's listening, but heaven will always be your first audience. You are not speaking for applause, you are speaking for obedience. And obedience always carries its own reward. Do not underestimate what happens when a chosen one opens their mouth. Every time you share truth, angels move. Every time you speak life into someone else's despair, heaven takes note. Every time you release forgiveness instead of bitterness, your words cut through the noise and carve space for healing. You are a voice in a generation drowning in noise. Your sound is not another echo, it is a frequency of freedom. It's calm, yet cutting. Gentle, yet undeniable. Heaven trusts you with words that restore clarity where confusion has reigned. You don't just speak about light, you release it. You may not hold a microphone or a stage, but your voice matters in the conversations no one else can reach. You carry heaven's accent into earthly spaces. Every post, every prayer, every quiet word of encouragement, each one becomes a divine seed planted in the soil of someone's soul. When you speak truth, you stir eternity. Your words remind the forgotten that they are still seen, still chosen, still loved. That is not small, it is sacred. You are the messenger heaven handpicked for moments such as this. So, right here, as your spirit aligns with the sound of heaven, let your faith respond in a small but powerful act of agreement. Comment below, I will speak. Those 3 words may seem simple, but they carry fire. When you type, I will speak, you are not just writing a phrase, you are activating your assignment. You are saying, Lord, I will no longer let fear silence me. I will not hide the message you placed inside my bones. It is not about volume, it is about obedience. Heaven does not measure your worth by the size of your audience, but by the sincerity of your yes. You are not just a voice, you are a vessel of truth. And the world is waiting for the sound only you can release. The wilderness has ended. The whisper becomes a roar. The voice that once trembled now thunders with divine certainty. Heaven has chosen you to carry its sound pure, powerful, and unstoppable. Speak, and watch the atmosphere change. Speak, and let light return. When you write, I will speak, heaven bears witness. Those words are more than a comment, they are a covenant. You are announcing to creation that silence will no longer define you, that fear will no longer govern your expression. Heaven hears the trembling in your yes and calls it courage. Each time you declare, I will speak, the chains that once held your confidence begin to fall. You step into the identity God always saw, bold yet humble, fierce yet compassionate. Your words become bridges for others to cross from darkness into light, from doubt into faith. So declare it once more, I will speak. Let it echo through unseen realms. Let your own spirit hear it and believe. The world needs your sound. Heaven has waited long enough to release it. Heaven's training ground has shaped you quietly. Every battle you faced was a lesson wrapped in disguise. You were being refined through resistance, tested in trials, and strengthened in stillness. You may not have realized it, but while you were asking God for release, He was preparing you for rule. The wilderness was not punishment, It was preparation. You learned discipline there. You learned how to pray when no one responded, how to trust when nothing made sense, how to fight with peace instead of panic. The training was long, but it was necessary. Heaven could not send you out unprepared because the territory you are about to step into requires stability, not emotion, wisdom, not impulse. Everything you lost was part of the training. Every closed door, every misunderstood season, every person who walked away, it was heaven's way of chiseling you down to the essentials. The unnecessary fell away so that the unshakable could remain. You learned that what you thought was breaking was actually building. You became spiritually resilient, able to withstand both silence and storm. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 11, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." This scripture is the mirror of your journey. The pain produced peace. The process birthed purity. You have been trained not in comfort, but in conviction. You have become the kind of soul that heaven can trust with greater assignments because you no longer move by impulse, you move by instruction. And now, heaven looks at you and sees readiness. You no longer chase validation because you've learned that obedience is its own reward. You no longer fear loss because you've realized that nothing truly yours can ever be taken. You no longer panic when the path feels uncertain because you've discovered that faith walks best in fog. The training of heaven has given you clarity, an inner compass that never bends under pressure. You know now that divine strength does not roar, it breathes. It moves through gentleness, patience, and quiet authority. You have learned the rhythm of heaven: rest before revelation, silence before strategy, stillness before success. What once felt like isolation has turned into intimacy. The nights that felt empty are now sacred memories of encounter. Every prayer whispered in exhaustion became a brick in your spiritual foundation. You were not abandoned in the wilderness, you were accompanied by wisdom itself. Now you are being called out of training and into purpose. The tests are not ending, but their meaning has changed. What once terrified you now tests your endurance. You are no longer the student trembling before the storm, you are the warrior who understands the wind. This moment is not about proving your worth, it is about revealing your maturity. The same spirit that taught you how to wait is now teaching you how to move. And as you move, your steps will carry healing to others still in their waiting seasons. If this message stirs something in you, let your response be quiet but deliberate, an act of alignment, not obligation. When you like, imagine it as pressing your hand into the imprint of divine agreement, whispering, "Yes, I receive this lesson." When you share, picture yourself releasing a dove from your hands, letting truth fly where it's needed most, carrying hope to hearts still trembling in the wilderness. When you subscribe, see it as building a small altar of remembrance, a way to stay connected to the flow of light, to return when your spirit needs refreshing. These gestures are not digital, they are devotional. They are reminders that faith is both private and shared, both personal and collective. Every time you engage with what awakens your soul, you're saying, "Lord, keep me teachable, keep me ready." So, take this as your holy pause. You've been trained, and heaven smiles at your growth. You've learned to stand in storms and remain gentle, to lead with peace instead of pride. You've been forged quietly into a vessel that no longer cracks under pressure. The wilderness was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. And now, you emerge with steady hands and a settled heart. You no longer beg for blessing, you carry it. You no longer chase light, you emit it. The training ground has become your launching ground. The Father whispers over you now. You've passed the test. And as you breathe, the world will feel that shift, the calm strength of one who has been taught by heaven itself. When you like, it is worship. When you share, it is ministry. When you subscribe, it is belonging. None of it is for performance. All of it is for remembrance, a way of saying, I see, I understand, I'm still listening. And heaven, in response, says softly, good, you're ready. There comes a moment in every divine story when mercy pauses, not to withdraw, but to wait for a response. You stand in that moment now, the delicate space between conviction and completion. Heaven has been patient, but patience is not permanent. The Spirit lingers, urging you to decide which voice you will follow from this point forward. You have felt the tug for some time now, the holy restlessness that doesn't let you settle for halfway obedience. You have tasted too much truth to return to ignorance. You know too much of God's voice to pretend you cannot hear it. This is not judgment. It is invitation. Mercy stands before you with outstretched hands, whispering, choose light while it still burns. The ancient words recorded in Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, declare, I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. Heaven never forces your hand. Love does not coerce, it calls. You are free to walk away. But the path of light will always glow behind you. Waiting. Mercy does not chase, it stands. Yet, when it stands, it waits with tears in its eyes, knowing that one day the door will close. There is a truth often misunderstood. Grace is endless in depth, but not in duration. A heart can grow numb if it ignores conviction too long. The soft whispers that once stirred your soul can fade into the background if continually silenced. That is why heaven speaks again tonight, because time is holy, and decisions are eternal. You have felt mercy many times before, when you should have fallen but didn't, when you should have lost but were lifted, when you walked close to darkness but somehow found your way back. That was not luck. That was heaven's hand intercepting consequence. But even heaven's hand, once rejected long enough, eventually releases what it was holding. This is not said to scare you, but to awaken you. You are too valuable to drift. The mark of the chosen is not perfection, it is response. God does not demand that you never fail. He asks only that you never stop returning. Remember the story of the prodigal. It was not the distance that doomed him, but the delay. The father never moved, yet his mercy waited at the window every day. That's where heaven stands now, watching, hoping, calling your name, waiting for your next step to be toward home. You do not have to run. You only need to turn. Heaven's distance collapses the moment you do. The arms that once formed you from dust are still stretched toward you, unwearied by time, unbroken by your hesitation. Mercy is not weakness, it is warfare. It fights for your destiny against the forces that would rather see you silent, stagnant, and separated You have no idea how many times heaven has shielded you from destruction you never even saw coming. The protection you mistook for coincidence was mercy's armor. And yet, there comes a day when heaven steps back, not in anger, but in honor of your will. It will not force you to live holy, to speak truth, to carry light. It will simply wait to see what you choose when silence is the only sound. Even now, as you breathe, mercy is near. It has not left you. You feel it in the warmth behind your ribs, the inexplicable peace that follows every moment of surrender. You feel it in the way tears fall without warning when heaven brushes past your heart. That is not emotion, that is encounter. This moment is sacred, not because of fear, but because of freedom. You have the choice to continue in complacency or to step back into alignment. Heaven doesn't need another promise, it waits for one decision. If you could see what waits on the other side of obedience, you would not hesitate. Peace beyond understanding, joy without performance, purpose without exhaustion. That is what mercy still offers while the door remains open. Do not confuse delay with denial. The door is still here. The light still shines. But the call is louder than before. Heaven's patience is tender, but it is also intentional. It waits for your yes, but it will not wait forever. So pause. Listen. The same God who spoke galaxies into being now speaks softly to you. Choose life. Not just eternal life, but awakened life, the kind that walks in purpose, truth, and peace. The kind that recognizes mercy not as a feeling, but as a person waiting at the threshold of your heart. Mercy still stands. And for now, the door remains open. Heaven watches silently, not with anger, but with aching love. The next move belongs to you. And even the angels pause, waiting to see if your heart will turn. The door of mercy glows faintly in the distance, patient but pulsing. Step toward it while light still spills through the cracks, and grace will meet you halfway. The fire begins to rise again, not the fire that destroys, but the one that refines. You are standing in the holy furnace of transformation, where everything false burns away and only what is eternal remains. The waiting has shaped you. The crushing has purified you. But now the refining completes you. This is the season where God polishes what He has already chosen. You might feel the heat intensify. You might feel as if old wounds are reopening, as if the things you thought were behind you are surfacing again. Don't be alarmed. Fire does not revisit what is useless. It touches only what is valuable. The presence of this heat is proof that there is still gold hidden inside you. As was spoken in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7, these trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. That truth is alive in you now. Heaven is not punishing you. Heaven is perfecting you. Every flame that touches your life burns only what cannot enter the next season. The fire does not arrive to destroy. It comes to distinguish. There is a kind of holiness born only through heat. Flames teach you what comfort cannot, that endurance is love in motion. You've learned to trust the flame because you now understand the fire's loyalty. It never leaves you unshaped. Every trial you've endured was refining your vision, your discernment, your voice. Sometimes God lets you feel the heat, so you'll remember the source of your strength. You are learning to recognize Him not only in peace, but also in pressure. The same hands that held you in stillness now steady you in fire. You've wondered, why does it hurt again? Because you're being forged into something unbreakable. The fire reveals impurities you didn't know still clung to your soul: fear, doubt, resentment. But as the flames rise, so does your clarity. The ashes beneath you are not defeat, they are evidence that the process is working. Chosen one, your faith has become molten, pliable in the hands of the Maker. Heaven does not fear your tears. It uses them as water to cool what's been made new. Every cry in the fire is heard. Every breath taken in pain is recorded as worship. You may not see it yet, but this refining will mark you. The glow of endurance will replace the grey of exhaustion. People will look at you and sense peace they cannot explain, strength they cannot measure. That is the afterglow of holy fire. And even now, heaven whispers a secret: this season will not last forever. Every flame has an appointed time. When its work is done, it retreats, leaving gold where fear once lived. You will emerge not the same, but more alive, more awake, more radiant. Your spirit is learning to say, even this is holy. You are beginning to see that nothing wasted remains in God's hands. Every burning becomes birthing. Every loss becomes a lesson in endurance. Every ember that once scared you now lights the way forward. Soon you will understand that the fire was never against you. It was for you. It consumed what could not stay and refined what must remain. You were not in the fire alone. You were walking with the one who commands it. If you can feel this truth stirring inside you, let your spirit answer with faith. Heaven does not ask for dramatic gestures, only alignment. So let your response be simple but sincere. Comment 333. When you type 333, you are not posting numbers, you are sealing understanding. It represents divine completeness, in process, the meeting point of promise, preparation, and perfection. You are declaring, Lord, finish what you started. Refine me until I reflect you. The fire doesn't frighten you anymore because now you know who walks within it. 333 is not a code, it's a covenant. It's your quiet yes to the flame that heals. Your agreement with the God who perfects through pressure. You are not burning, you are becoming. Let the fire do its holy work until only gold remains. Heaven watches with joy, knowing that when you rise from these flames, you won't just carry light, you'll become it. When you write 333, heaven recognizes the surrender hidden inside those digits. You are not typing by chance, you are responding to a divine process that has purified you through patience, pressure, and perseverance. Heaven reads that number as worship. Each time you declare 333, you are aligning yourself with divine craftsmanship. You're saying, God, I trust your timing, even when it burns. You acknowledge that the flame didn't come to consume you, but to clarify you, to separate what is eternal from what is temporary. So write 333 with faith, not fear. Let it stand as your covenant in the fire, a sign that you are still here, still glowing, still being perfected by the hands that never let you go. The air feels different now, charged, lighter, alive. Something that was once heavy has lifted. You may not notice it all at once, but in your spirit, you know the atmosphere has changed. What pressed against you for so long is finally beginning to release. The season of reversal has arrived. For months, even years, you felt as if everything was slipping through your fingers. Opportunities seemed to fade. People turned away, and prayers echoed unanswered. But what you didn't see was how God was quietly turning the soil beneath your feet. He was not taking from you, he was making room. Heaven never leaves a void without the promise of filling it. Every loss carried an unseen seed. The rejection that hurt you most became the ground where your restoration would bloom. God doesn't just replace what was stolen, he multiplies it. Every no that broke your heart has been rewritten into a better yes. The ancient words of the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. Declare, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. That is the promise now echoing in your life. Restoration is not imagination, it's manifestation. Heaven is a master of divine reversals, turning ashes into crowns, sorrow into songs, and broken pieces into blueprints for miracles. The same hands that allowed the breaking are the ones now orchestrating your rebuilding. Look closely. The signs are already appearing. Where there was confusion, peace is quietly settling. Where doors once slammed shut, hinges are loosening. What seemed like endings now reveal themselves as beginnings in disguise. This is the rhythm of divine justice, God balancing what life has left uneven. The reversal season always begins in silence. You will notice it in small ways. First, a conversation that softens, a connection revived, a sudden opportunity that feels perfectly timed. Those are heaven's fingerprints. God rarely shouts restoration, he whispers it, and those who have endured the waiting can hear it clearly. You are one of those souls. The years that seemed wasted were not. Every tear was accounted for, every sigh recorded. Heaven's economy does not lose track of pain. Nothing endured faithfully is ever forgotten. You may have been emptied, but now you are being filled not just with blessings, but with balance, with peace, with joy that doesn't need validation. It's not just things that are being restored, it's you, the version of yourself that was buried under disappointment, the voice that went quiet after rejection, the dream that died under the weight of delay. They are all rising again. You are becoming reacquainted with hope, not the fragile kind that fears heartbreak, but the steady kind that trusts in divine rhythm. Sometimes God doesn't restore to how things were. He restores by revealing who you've become. The person walking out of this season is not the same one who entered it. You've gained discernment, maturity, and spiritual stability. You can no longer be swayed by surface storms because you've learned to listen for heaven's deeper current. Restoration does not mean life goes back to normal. It means life becomes new. You will not simply recover what was lost, you will discover what was hidden. What you thought was gone forever will reappear in better form, redefined by grace, untouched by bitterness. Heaven's justice is never partial. When God restores, he exceeds. You won't just have what you had before, you will have what you could have never imagined. Peace will settle where anxiety lived. Clarity will reign where confusion thrived. The very places of your greatest sorrow will become altars of gratitude. You are stepping into a rhythm where grace reclaims ground faster than pain can erode it. Where you once felt delayed, you will now move in divine acceleration. The reversals won't come as explosions of glory, but as quiet alignments, a job that fits perfectly, a word that heals instantly, a door that opens without effort, and through it all, You will feel it, the unmistakable presence of God weaving restoration into every thread of your life. You will see beauty where you once saw ruin. You will sense peace where you once felt fear. You will know that what was lost has returned, sanctified by time and touched by mercy. This is your reversal season. The scales are tipping, the story shifting, and the hands of heaven are rewriting endings into beginnings. You will look back and realize that nothing truly left you. It was all being prepared to return at the right time, in the right way, through the right hands. You are living proof that divine reversals are real. The years that tried to steal your joy are now paying it back with interest. The tears you shed have watered the soil of your future. What was once broken is now blooming. And as heaven restores, you will understand the truth hidden in every trial. You were never losing. You were being positioned for the return. There are moments in time when heaven leans closer, and your name is spoken in the light, not as a memory, but as a decree. You are written in the book of remembrance, not because of perfection, but because of persistence. Every quiet yes, every whispered prayer, every act of faith you thought went unseen has been recorded in eternity. Heaven does not forget those who keep walking through the dark carrying light. The scriptures reveal a mystery in the book of Malachi. Chapter 3, verse 16. Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name. That truth rests over you now. Heaven has been listening. Even when you spoke softly into the night, even when your words were too broken to form sentences, they were still heard. Your name was not lost in the noise of the world, it was echoed in the chambers of glory. Every moment of endurance has meaning. The times you stayed kind when anger felt easier. The times you forgave when silence seemed safer. The times you chose obedience when rebellion promised relief. All of these moments are divine ink written beside your name. You have lived faithfully even when no one applauded. And heaven calls that greatness. You may not feel seen by people, but you are known by God. His remembrance is not sentimental, it is structural. When God remembers, he releases. Every act of obedience becomes a seed, and remembrance is the rain that makes it grow. What you thought was buried by time is being uncovered by mercy. The book of remembrance is not a myth, it's a manifestation of divine justice. It holds every sacrifice, every hidden battle, every prayer that left your lips trembling. The moments you thought were forgotten are not gone, they are maturing in heaven's timeline. You are entering a time when what was written in secret begins to unfold in the open. People will call it sudden favor, but you will know it's sacred timing. The remembrance of God is never random. It is the moment heaven says, now. When God remembers, things move that have been still for years. Dreams breathe again. Doors unlock with a whisper. Connections form that you never imagined possible. Heaven's remembrance always produces movement. It awakens what was waiting for divine mention. There is a weight to being remembered by God. It's not about recognition, it's about responsibility. When heaven calls your name, it's not to lift you above others, but to place you where light is needed most. The remembered ones carry assignments, not crowns. They are chosen not to be admired, but to be effective. This remembrance is also restoration. Every place where you felt forgotten, you will now see divine attention. The seasons you thought wasted will reveal their purpose. You will see how God kept records when the world kept score. You are living proof that God watches the faithful. When you chose humility instead of pride, patience instead of panic, love instead of revenge, He wrote it down. And now, He reads it back as a decree of blessing. You have not been overlooked, you've been preserved. Do not mistake delay for disregard. Heaven's remembrance is not reactionary, it's prophetic. God remembers at the moment of fulfillment, not the moment of frustration. Every delay was building the value of your obedience. Every wait was increasing the weight of your reward. Soon, what was once invisible will be undeniable. You will begin to see favor follow you without explanation. Places that once ignored you will seek you. Voices that dismissed you will call for your guidance. This is not coincidence, it's remembrance in motion. Heaven remembers not only your actions, but your intentions. It knows the times you wanted to do good, but lacked strength. The moments you almost gave up, but didn't. God counts every ounce of effort, every flicker of faith. Nothing escapes His notice. And when the scroll is read, and your name is called, there will be peace that floods your soul, a quiet knowing that you were never unseen. You will understand that the waiting was never wasted, that the silence was sacred, and that remembrance was already unfolding long before you realized it. This is the mystery of divine memory. Heaven does not just recall, it rewards. It restores. It redeems. Your name has been written in light, and that light will soon manifest in your life as clarity, favor, and fulfillment. You are remembered not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You are written in the heart of God. You always were. You always will be. Heaven's memory does not fade, it flowers. Every recorded moment now ripens into reward. Every hidden prayer becomes visible, grace. You are living inside fulfillment proof that God remembers and restores in His perfect time. There is a stirring in the heavens, a gathering of light around those who have endured. You feel it, the sense that something larger than you is unfolding. The waiting has stretched you. The refining has purified you. And now the marking begins. You are part of a remnant, a generation not defined by fear but by fire. The ones heaven calls marked. This is the rise of those who understand both the silence of God and the sound of His calling. The marked ones do not need applause to move or clarity to obey. They move because love compels them, because purpose is louder than comfort. You are one of them, the chosen within the chosen. Your preparation has not been wasted. Every heartbreak, every quiet surrender, every decision to keep walking when the path vanished, heaven recorded it. The angels who watched your endurance now rise to announce your emergence. What was once hidden is about to become history written in light. The apostle wrote to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You have reached that proper time. This is not random recovery. This is the reaping of every seed you sowed in faith. The harvest has your fingerprints on it because it was grown through your perseverance. Heaven is positioning the marked ones. You are being sent as light into places that have forgotten warmth. Your voice will awaken hope where despair has built walls. Your presence will shift rooms, not because of personality, but because of purity. The oil on your life is not decoration, it's direction. And yet, this calling is not loud, It whispers. It doesn't force you, it invites you. The invitation sounds like peace, like a gentle rhythm within your spirit saying, "It's time." You do not rise alone. The remnant rises together, a quiet army of healers, prophets, dreamers, and restorers. Each one carries a piece of heaven's heart. Together, you become the sound of light expanding. The world may not understand it, but creation does. Even the earth groans for the appearance of those who carry divine purpose. And now it feels your footsteps. You have always been set apart, but now you are being set in place. The marking of heaven is not just a title, it's a trust. You've been refined enough to carry what others mishandled. You've been quiet long enough to hear instructions others ignored. You have become trustworthy in the eyes of God. The rise of the marked ones is not a spectacle, it's a symphony. Every act of obedience is a note. Every moment of surrender a melody. Together, heaven conducts your lives into harmony. You are part of that sound. You are the note that makes someone else's healing possible. As this truth sinks in, let your response be tender. When you like, imagine it as lighting a single candle at the altar of unity, its flame joining countless others around the world, forming a constellation of faith. When you share, see yourself as releasing that candle into the wind, trusting the Spirit to carry its glow to someone still searching for light. When you subscribe, picture it as stepping quietly into a sanctuary that never closes, a place where voices of the chosen continue to echo together in worship and strength. When you comment, imagine it as leaving a small prayer carved into the walls of this sanctuary, a personal echo of gratitude that lingers long after you've gone. Your words are not noise, they are petals on heaven's altar, reminders that faith still breathes here. These small gestures are not requests, they are reflections. They mirror what heaven does daily, giving, sharing, connecting. To respond is not to follow, it is to participate. It's choosing to become part of the light rather than merely watching it. The remnant moves without force, because love never coerces. When your heart aligns with this flow, you don't engage out of habit, you engage out of harmony. Every gesture of agreement becomes prayer. Every quiet act of connection becomes worship. You are standing among the marked ones, those who carry fire, not for destruction but illumination. The battles you've fought have prepared you to hold that flame with compassion. You no longer seek validation, you seek transformation. You live to reflect heaven's design in earthly form. The heavens rejoice not because you are perfect, but because you are ready. Every scar glows now as proof of victory. Every breath you take becomes evidence of grace. You are light formed from darkness, hope formed from ashes, peace born from war. When you like, it is your flame. When you share, it is your flight. When you comment, it is your prayer. When you subscribe, it is your homecoming. Each one a holy motion, a quiet yes that keeps the light alive. The rise has begun. Heaven watches. Earth listens. And the marked ones move not with noise, but with knowing, and you, chosen one, are among them. The light upon you has changed, it no longer flickers, it burns steady. You have walked through the storm, stood in the fire, and now emerge radiant, crowned not by human hands but by heaven's own decree. The crown you wear is not a symbol of status, it is a reflection of endurance. You are crowned with glory because you did not abandon grace when grace seemed silent. This glory is not loud, it is luminous. It moves quietly through you, transforming everything it touches. It isn't about recognition but restoration, God restoring the dignity that pain tried to strip away. You are not the same person who entered the battle. The old you broke under pressure, but the real you was built within it. The ancient words recorded in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 10, still echo with living power. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast. That promise is now your portion. The suffering was temporary, but the strength it produced is eternal. You have been established, not by striving, but by surrender. The Lord himself has placed stability beneath your steps. You no longer chase purpose, you carry it. You no longer fear change, you embody it. This crown of glory is invisible to the world, but undeniable in the spirit. Wherever you go, peace follows. You speak, and hearts still restless begin to settle. You walk, and atmosphere bends toward light. The authority you now carry cannot be taught or imitated. It was forged in the intimacy of fire and waiting. Crowning is never random, it is recognition. Heaven crowns those who have learned the rhythm of humility and obedience. You were not crowned because you were strong, but because you stayed soft while being strengthened. True glory is not the absence of scars, it is the beauty of healing made visible. Every mark upon your heart has become a reflection of divine craftsmanship. You are a living reminder that glory does not erase the evidence of pain, it redeems it. The very things that once humiliated you have become holy testimony. The nights that tried to break you have become the foundation of wisdom. You wear your history like a jewel, not with pride, but with perspective. Chosen one. Do you realize what it means to be crowned with glory? It means you are trusted. Heaven entrusts its nature to those who understand compassion through their own wounds. The radiance you carry is not for decoration, it is for distribution. You shine so that others may see the path home. You have stepped beyond survival into stewardship. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but "What can flow through me because of this?" That is the shift from pain to purpose. The crown signifies not the end of battle, but the beginning of influence, holy influence, birthed through brokenness. When you speak now, it will not sound like advice, it will sound like healing. Your words will carry the weight of someone who has touched both despair and deliverance. You will find people drawn to you, not because of what you know, but because of what you've endured and overcome. You carry credibility that only experience with grace can grant. The glory you wear does not seek to outshine others. It invites them closer to the same light that healed you. Glory never competes, it completes. It fills spaces with quiet assurance. It restores what noise has fractured. That is what you bring into every room now: reconciliation, renewal, remembrance of hope. And as you carry this crown, remember, it is not fixed upon your head for your sake alone. It is meant to tilt forward, as if bowing in worship. The crown is heaven's reminder that victory belongs to the humble. You reign best when you kneel. This season of crowning is sacred because it doesn't end with exaltation, it continues with service. The higher you rise, the lower you bow. The greater your light, the gentler your presence becomes. That is the paradox of divine glory. The most radiant souls are always the most tender. You have learned what few understand, that power is safest in the hands of the pure. You have become that vessel. Glory rests upon you not because of what you achieved, but because of what you allowed God to achieve through you. You said yes when others quit. You stayed when others ran. And now heaven crowns endurance with evidence. The path ahead will still hold challenges, but they will not shake you. You have become unshakable because your roots no longer rest in circumstance but in calling. You are the living proof that grace finishes what it begins. Walk gently now, crowned and aware. The light upon your brow is not for show, it is for guidance. Wherever you go, heaven travels with you. Wherever you rest, peace blooms. You are the fulfillment of a process that once looked like pain, but was always leading to glory. The sound you hear now is not thunder or weeping, it is fulfillment. The final movement of this long, divine symphony is beginning to play. The very air seems to hum with completion. You have walked through valleys, stood in fire, endured silence, and now stand in the fullness of time. The final trumpet is not a blast of fear, it is a song of arrival. Heaven's long waiting meets your obedience, and eternity exhales in peace. You are not late. You are not behind. You are standing precisely where destiny designed you to be. The 2 hours heaven waited were never delay, they were alignment. The pauses that frustrated you were heaven's precision, keeping you from stepping before the music began. Now every note resonates in harmony. As the trumpet of divine timing sounds, everything hidden becomes visible. What was blurred comes into focus. You begin to see how each season, each hardship, each holy interruption worked together to bring you here. The fragments of your past that once made no sense now form a mosaic of meaning. You realize that God never wasted a moment, not even your mistakes. The ancient words written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8. Come alive in this hour. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. That door now stands before you. It is not loud or flashing, it simply stands open, waiting for your step of faith. Beyond it lies everything heaven has promised, everything you were prepared to carry. You will not need to knock, heaven has already unlocked it. The trumpet only announced what was already decreed. As you move forward, the air feels lighter, as though creation itself recognizes that fulfillment has arrived. The same universe that once held its breath for your obedience now celebrates your becoming. You walk not with hesitation, but with holy assurance. The quiet strength of someone who knows that every battle was worth it. Heaven has completed its message. And yet, in a beautiful mystery, nothing truly ends it, only shifts. Endings in God are beginnings in disguise. This final trumpet is both closure and commission. You are being released not away from destiny, but into it. There will be peace in this next stretch of your journey, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of certainty. You will move differently now, no longer reacting to pressure, but responding to purpose. The same storms that once made you tremble will now recognize your authority. The elements know your name because heaven has declared it. You are not the same one who began this journey. The person who once questioned the silence has become the voice that carries peace. The one who feared the waiting now walks in wisdom. The one who doubted the process now stands as proof that faith fulfills. The transformation is complete. The final trumpet does not call you away, it calls you forward. It reminds you that destiny is not a destination, but a rhythm. You will continue to walk, to build, to heal, to love, but now you will do it from rest, not striving. The same spirit that called you in stillness now sends you in strength. Look around you. The landscape has changed. What once looked barren now blooms. What once felt heavy now breathes with grace. Even your scars shimmer in the new light. No longer symbols of pain, but of purpose achieved. You carry memory, but not mourning. You carry history, but it no longer hurts. Heaven's message is complete, but its echo will continue through you. Every step you take, every word you speak, will carry the frequency of fulfillment. You have become the living continuation of what heaven began. The trumpet may sound its last note, but your life now becomes the song. You will walk through the open door with quiet awe, knowing you were always meant to. You will not rush, you will glide, guided by peace that passes all understanding. And as you move, you will feel heaven move with you, no longer waiting, but walking beside you. Everything is right on time. The delay has dissolved. The process is finished, yet alive. The promise is fulfilled, yet still unfolding. The last trumpet has not ended the song, it has simply changed its key. And in that shift, you finally understand the waiting was love. The fire was grace. The silence was strategy. And the trumpet, this final sound, was always your invitation home to purpose. Heaven has spoken. The message has landed. You are right on time. You stand still for a moment, realizing that every hour of pain was prophecy in disguise. The heavens are quiet now, not in absence, but in approval. Completion hums softly around you. The light that once called you now rests within you. You carry eternity in your chest, peace where fear once lived. The message no longer surrounds you, it breathes through you, alive and everlasting. If your heart has stirred even once while walking through this message, it means heaven has reached its mark. This is not the end of a script, it is the beginning of your awakening. You have felt every whisper, every silence, every flame. And now, something inside you recognizes truth. You were not just reading words, you were hearing echoes of your own becoming. Let what you feel now become motion, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. When you like, imagine it as lighting one final candle at the end of this sacred path, a signal to heaven that you have heard and understood. That small act becomes light, returning to its source. When you share, picture it as releasing that same candle into the wind. Somewhere, someone still sits in darkness, and your light may be the one that reaches them. You don't share to promote, you share to participate in a divine exchange, the passing of illumination from soul to soul. When you comment, imagine carving your words gently into the walls of eternity. A sentence of gratitude, a word of surrender, a note of faith. It becomes a testimony that you were here, that you received, that you answered. Your voice leaves a trail others will follow when their night feels longest. And when you subscribe, see it not as joining a channel, but as returning to a circle of light, a gathering of those who hear what the world often misses: truth spoken softly, yet burning bright. It's a choice to stay close to the flame that changed you, to remain connected to the rhythm of revelation. This is not a demand, it is an offering. You have walked through light, fire, and stillness. Let your response, whatever it is, be beautiful, because the moment you act from sincerity, heaven takes notice again. The story ends. But your light continues, and somewhere, even now, heaven smiles because you listened.